Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 9 of the Fuck It podcast. Where we're looking to show people if they can change their mind, they can change their life. I'm your host, Frank McGovern. I have a very special guest with me here today, Tim Bratz. Me and Tim were actually in a mastermind together, Mark Evans mastermind back in 2017. And, I just felt like he had a very, inspirational story he can share with everyone. And just someone I've seen grow significantly, not just in business, but in life. And, again, just had a very good story. So having him on to share. So Tim, please introduce yourself to the audience.
What's up, buddy? Well, first of all, I appreciate you having me, man. It means a lot. And yeah, we've been connected for a long time. It's awesome to see, the good guys winning and the good guys continuing to push through. Dude, we all take fucking boatloads of arrows and kicks in the crotch all the time. So it's not all sunshine and rainbows. And it's cool to see, you and me and Mark and any adversities that get thrown our way, man, just being able to overcome and continue pushing through all that stuff. So I'm sure we'll be talking about a lot of that stuff today. But yeah, so I'm Tim Bratz. I am from Cleveland, Ohio, originally as blue collar as it comes. My dad's a cop, my mom's teacher, and grew up in a very blue collar town and knew that I wanted more, right? My dad had a part-time business that he made more money in on a part-time basis than he did in his full-time police job. And I was like, Dad, why don't you do more of that? And he's like, well, I got kids and I need life insurance and I need health insurance and I got all these other things and I don't come from money. So when you start making it, you're almost afraid to lose it. And a lot of those kinds of conversations ended up coming up with my dad. And it was interesting to see that the business, his part-time business, paid for the lifestyle, right, that we had. Not saying we were like overly wealthy, but my dad's kind of like that, millionaire next door. He always lived on less in order to give the kids more, and was really, really good at saving money. So I don't know if he ever made more than a few $100,000 a year, but he was really good on expenses and that kind of thing. And the part-time business is what paid for vacations. It's what paid for my first car, my brother's first car, and paid for all of us to go to college and all those other things. And I realized that, right? Didn't exactly know the dynamics of life and business and things that I look at today. But looking back at that, I was like, Dad, why don't you spend more time on the business? Because you make even more money there versus these other things. And there was always he lived a little bit of the rich dad and the poor dad lifestyle, right? And he had both of those mentalities as I was growing up. But that's what spurred me on wanted to be an entrepreneur.
Like a fear mindset, you think, where he was making more money doing something part-time, but he couldn't really commit his full energy to that.
Yeah, dude, he grew up broke, right? His dad was a raging alcoholic and woman, like a abusive husband to my grandma. My dad never even met his dad, right? He has one memory of him beating my grandma when my dad was like 3 years old or something. And so that's a pretty shitty memory,
Yeah.
And then he grows up with his brother and sister were 11 and 13 years older than him. And he grew up in a single mom household essentially, and sees his mom working her butt off and working and working and working. And they never had money, right? Like the only time he ever had new clothes was somebody died, there's a funeral or a wedding, right? And that was it. And so he didn't come from money, right? It was a lot of hard work. He was, I don't know, born in 1950. So it was that kind of a generation where you go to work for somebody else and you work for them forever, right? There is no jump at, like, fucking being an entrepreneur wasn't cool until like the past 15 years, right? Usually it was just the degenerates who couldn't get a job before.
An entrepreneur
now it's cool.
was a loser that lived in their mom's basement and didn't really feel like working.
Dude, exactly. And that's what entrepreneurship was before. It didn't become like trendy until, I don't know, the past 15 years or so. And so people just didn't do that back then. And although it was there and he saw it and I saw it, and again, it goes back to that whole mindset of like, when you don't come from money and then you have some money, there's this almost fear of losing it, right? It's like, dude, I didn't know anybody growing up who had money. And then all of a sudden you come into it and you're like, and you just kind of hide it and keep doing whatever got you there, whatever helped get you there. And that was, I think more the mindset. So And so, but anyways, I saw the entrepreneurial side of things and realized pretty early on I freaking hated having a boss, dude. Like I could not take uh, uh, orders from somebody. I'm more of a rebel than anything else, and I hate being told what to do. And I'm like, I'm a grown adult. I'm not going to ask somebody to go take a piss or go on vacation or take my kid to school or go to the doctor, whatever. Like I'm not gonna do that. And so I was very unemployable from an early age, and I always did like little stuff like trying to figure out. I burn CDs and sell them to my buddies. I wasn't back in the days of Napster and Audio Galaxy and like LimeWire and all those where you can download free music. And I cut hair to all my buddies in high school and college. And I always like had like these side gigs of making some money. And then in high school, in college, when I was in college, 03 to 07, the real estate market was going bananas. And that's where everybody was making money. And I interned for a big home builder and I worked in the trades a little bit with a painting company and realized like there were people who were no smarter than you and me making a lot of money in real estate. And I was like, fuck, this guy's making money. I'm going to get rich doing this business. And so I decided to pursue real estate, graduated from college in 07, moved out to New York City. My brother was living out there, so I had a free place to stay and got a real estate license. I thought that's how you got involved in real estate and started doing leasing for a commercial shop. And that leasing turned into it's hard. First of all, it took like 8-9 months to close my first lease transaction. And it was a little, I'm 22 years old at the time, never done a real estate deal before. And so I got these little like junk properties or dumpy businesses, and we'd help transact a lease either on an office space or retail space. And I get some side street, 400 square foot space that I helped negotiate the lease on. Took me 9 months to do it. And I'm doing the math at the closing, the way these leases were signed, it was a 12-year lease term, $10,000 a month on a side street for 400 square feet on a 12-year term with 4% annual increases in the rent. And I start doing the math as a money hungry 22-year-old kid. And I'm like, holy shit, right? Like there's a lot more money in owning real estate. This owner is going to make almost $2 million over the next 12 years for doing something once. And I got a nice little commission on it, but I was like, I'm on the wrong side of the coin. I need to be owning real estate instead of brokering real estate. And, I'm in New York City. I don't have access to any money. And so, and we had a crappy winter. I wanted to go down south and I found Charleston, South Carolina. So I moved down to Charleston in 2008 and, started understanding wholesaling, started understanding flipping. Like the market absolutely collapsed, and so like short sales were a big thing, loan modifications were a big thing, and I'm trying to understand all this stuff. And I think going through that when deals were everywhere and money was nowhere, very different than what the market's kind of been the past couple of years. And I developed a lot of pretty cool skills that I didn't realize would serve me today. And how to raise private money, how to creatively finance deals, how to take over a mortgage and kind of the subject to model that my buddy Pace teaches, and creative financing, seller financing, wrap mortgages, lease options, master lease options, installment contracts, like all these things that are tools, right, in your tool belt of being able to buy and sell deals that I was able to creatively structure deals back then that have come full cycle. And although it's still a different market, because I knew these skill sets and I knew these ideas and I knew these strategies from 15 years ago, I've been able to implement those into a lot of the acquisitions that we're doing today and a lot of the deal structure in order to make deals work up both on the sell side and on the buy side and make sure that everything comes full cycle. So, yeah, man, that's a little bit of the journey about how I got started and went to Charleston. Market collapsed, found the cheapest house on the entire MLS, and I bought it on my credit card. And I personally fixed it all up, put carpet and paint and fixtures and all those things into it. And then I held an auction and had all these buyers come through one weekend and kind of did like this round robin auction kind of thing where I pinned people against each other on their offers. And I got some guy to come in and pay me 33 grand for a house I was into for 20 grand. And it was a dump property in a dump area. And but it was the biggest check I ever made. And when everybody's saying run from real estate, I was a 23-year-old kid at the time, just made the biggest check I've ever made in the real estate industry. And I quickly realized that it's not about the economy. It's not about these external factors. It's not even about the product. It's about the individual, right? I was making money when a lot of other people are saying real estate's ruining everybody and everybody's going broke because of real estate. Dude, it's not real estate, right? Real estate's just a product. Real estate's not good or bad. It's a product, right? The economy is not good or bad. It's just which way is the wind blowing? Yeah. It's the individual, right? Jim Rohn, who's been a huge mentor of mine over the years, has a story. It's like, listen, dude, how does a sailboat win a race, right? I live in Charleston, and I see these sailboats outside in the harbor all the time, and they're all racing around in a circle. Like, dude, it's the same wind blowing on all these sailboats, right? And how does one sailboat win a race when it's the same external factors influencing that sailboat? Because it's not about the wind that blows on it. It's about the set of the sail, right? It's not about the economic winds, the political winds, the financial winds, the social winds, all the winds that blow on all of us, dude. Your success in life is not determined by those external factors. It's how do you respond and how do you set your sail to capitalize and achieve and succeed no matter what wind blows on you, right? Work on you more so that way you can utilize whatever wind that blows to take you wherever you want to go. And that was a philosophy that was instilled in me early on of I'm not a fucking victim, dude. And this stuff happens. Everybody's got bad things that happen to them. It's not about what happens to you. It's about how you respond to what happens to you.
Exactly. Yeah. And to me, like, I see that, I started in real estate in 2010. So like at that time, it was a horrible market. People thought I was absolutely fucking crazy for getting in real estate at the time. And I just remember there being a significant amount of fear, like in the market, right? Like people were scared.
A quick question for you.
Yep.
Looking back at what you know today about that market, and everybody's saying it's a horrible market, what would you give to go back to 2010 and be a real estate investor?
I was just talking about this. Like, there's like certain neighborhoods in Philly, like I could legit get a shell for like 5 or 10 grand back in 2010. That would run you from anywhere from $100,000 to $200,000 today.
Dude,
and again, I just remember there being so much fear in the market. And in my opinion, like I'm starting to see that now, right? Like I see so many people, like, just fears happening, getting scared, and there's uncertainty. I'm getting excited, because to me, there's probably going to be significantly more opportunity over the next few years than there probably has been since back in 2010 to 2013-ish.
Dude, I agree 100%, man. And it for people who have been through this before, they get excited about it, right? It's the people who have never been through it that are like quivering and throwing the towel in and quitting very, very quickly. The people who understand market cycles, the people who understand opportunity cycles, are salivating right now. Like they're just and they're not, dude, they're not timing the market either. Like there's some people who are playing on defense a little bit. Like, I'm going to time the market. I'm going to try. Like, dude, you're not Nostradamus, dude. You can't tell what's going to happen and which way it's going. And dude, just do good deals, right? Have a good business model. Buy for cash flow, right? Get in and out. Have limited liability on different deals. Like the business model is what dictates, right? And your ability to perform and execute a solid business model.
Yeah, it's like you have to be like
99% of your successes and failures.
Yeah, you might have to be more conservative and change like certain metrics, with your model when you're purchasing. But there's opportunity regardless of how the economy is doing. Life always happens. If you look at the data from back when the market crashed, there were still houses selling in every market every single day of the week. So are you going to be the one a part of those sales, or are you sitting on the sideline like watching the sales happen?
Yeah, man. No, I agree 100%. And I think it's again, dude, like it's different tools in the tool belt, right? Like I was the apartment guy for a long time, essentially doing the Burr method on apartments.
Yep.
Right. And I got known for that. Buy, renovate, rent, refinance. And that works when interest rates are low and appraisals are coming in higher than what you can even sell a property for. You can do that all day. But guess what, dude? The market changed. Interest rates are higher. I'm not doing Burr method on my apartment buildings anymore, right? And I'm doing different strategies. I'm doing some creative finance, a lot of creative finance type stuff on deals right now, and buying for cash flow. And I'm underwriting deals based on blended cost of capital versus what my ROI is, and making sure I have positive cash flow over my cost of capital, and riding out any sort of economic storm and getting into great assets. Because you marry the asset, you only date the rate, So I'm trying to find great properties that I can get into right now. And dude, I'll pay a retail price because I know when interest rates fall. And dude, it might be 5 years, it might be 7 years, it might be 10 years. Who gives a shit? I'm here to play the long game anyways.
Exactly.
So I'll take down that deal today because I'm marrying the asset, I'm marrying the property, and I'll refinance whenever rates do drop and cut my payment in half, or cut it in, by 20% or whatever that looks like in the future. But I'm not going to stop doing deals because I'm either trying to time the market or I'm scared of the market. No, man, I'm here to hit base hits. I don't need to hit home runs. Base hit after base hit after base hit after base hit is what wins ball games.
Exactly. Just consistency. One thing that you had said, like early, like with the leasing stuff, it took you 8 or 9 months to get your first transaction closed. And that's like realistic. Like it took me when I started like wholesaling more like a few months, 3-4 months. One thing I always notice, majority of people, in my opinion, give up too quick, right? Like that's literally why the majority of people fail. It's not because they don't have the knowledge, not even sometimes the work ethic, but it's just like the mindset. You have unrealistic expectations and it doesn't happen quick enough. So like you quit and move on to something else. So just talk about that. Like I'm sure like it was difficult, you're probably jumping in thinking you're going to have immediate success. It doesn't happen, but you stick it out anyway. So just talk about that.
Yeah, here's the thing. Well, I could say many, many things about this, right? I've always been in real estate since I was in college, right? I don't have another skill set. So that's a blessing and a curse in that, dude, I don't have any ship to retreat to, right? I don't know what else to do. I have to make it work, or what else? What else am I going to do? I don't have another option. You know what I mean? A lot of people, I think, who work in an industry or they work in a job and they have this kind of easy retreat. I'll go back to my job. I'm an engineer. I'm doing whatever. Dude, that kills you mentally, because now you're never white hot. You're never fully committed to what it is. Like real estate's not an experiment. This is something that's been time tested since the dawn of civilization. Wealth has been measured in land ownership. People either make money in real estate or they maintain their wealth in real estate, right? They preserve their wealth in real estate, one or the other. But real estate's not an experiment. So real estate works. You just got to give it time. And there's books out there saying, hey, it takes 10,000 hours in any activity to become an expert at that activity. 10,000 hours, if you start breaking that down, all right, well, I work 40 hours a week. There's 50 weeks in a year, working weeks in a year, let's call it. That's 2,000 hours in a single year. So in order for me to hit 10,000 hours, that's 5 years of full-time effort in an industry doing an activity before I can ever be considered an expert. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So like I have this mentality. There's a lot of these things that like create awareness. Now that I have awareness of that, now I understand why people quit, right? Because there's a psychological chart of, on the vertical axis, it's the level of excitement. And on the horizontal axis, it's the amount of knowledge that you have. And when you first get started in anything, you have a high excitement and very little knowledge. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Yep.
And then once you're 6 months in, fucking your excitement wanes and your knowledge isn't that much more advanced. And this is where everybody quits. This is where everybody bails, is because they're not an expert at something. The excitement goes away of starting something new. It's why everybody falls off of their workout regimens in February, March, right? It's why everybody, all their goals fall off within a few months. It's why you see people who jump from job to job all the time never advance in their career, because they never become an expert at anything, because they never see it through. But if you just stick through this painful period of lack of excitement and very little knowledge, guess what? Then the knowledge grows and the excitement grows with it. And then it grows even more. And now you're super excited and you're super knowledgeable and everything's easy because you've now become an expert. But it shit takes 5 years in order to get there. If you can see through whatever industry you're in, whether that's real estate, your traditional business, or just a traditional job, you got to give it 5 years to become an expert, because that's when the skill set really comes in, where there's more demand for you. You're seen as an expert. You're seen as the person, the authority in that space, and now you can demand whatever amount of money that you want, or whatever terms that you might want, and people will pay it because you're seen as that expert, right? But the people who jump from job to job every 2 to 3 years, dude, when they're 45 years old, they never make more money as they did, other than from inflation and shit,
Yeah.
that they did 15, 20 years prior, because they never became an expert, dude. They just jump from job to job to job. And they're a jack of all trades and a master of none, right? Is the saying. Dude, you got to give it 5 years. I like, us entrepreneurs, we're a little bit psycho, so maybe
Yeah,
we
because
probably
we'll
spend
condense
60
those five
hours a
years
week.
into like 1.5 to 2 years.
Yeah, we could probably do it in 3, right? Is what I would say. And so when I realized that this, and dude, there's scientific evidence, right? And there's books written about this, that it takes 10,000 hours. And so I've kind of translated that into the 3-year principle. I will not start a new business unless I'm willing to dedicate 3 years to it. Because I know that first year, dude, is all planting seeds. It's developing the relationships, it's figuring out who the, I don't know, for real estate, the title companies are, and the insurance agents are, and who the mortgage brokers are, and who the lenders are, and planting the seeds with your private money. But guess what, dude? In year 1, you're planting seeds. Those seeds aren't sprouting yet. You need to water, you need to sun, you need to fertilize. You got to go through all that. And then in year 2, maybe it pops out of the ground. Maybe you're starting to see a little bit of growth. Maybe you close a deal or two. Maybe you have a little bit of momentum. Maybe there's a little bit of advancement, but it's fucking fragile, right? You can very easily kill that little seedling. And it's not really until year 3 where you start having the harvest, where really the fruits of your, dude, there's a lot of people. I'll give you an example, like joining a mastermind. There's people in masterminds where I joined in year 1. The veterans never even looked at me. That wouldn't do a deal with me. Had no interest in doing it. Then like partnering up with me on anything, even though I had a lot of good stuff going on in business. No interest. You know why? Because they're waiting to see if I'm willing to make a commitment.
Mm-hmm.
The people who have been around long enough know that there's a lot of transactional type people out there who are just takers. They're not relationship driven. They're not willing. Dude, there's people that you reach out to in year 1 about raising private money for a real estate deal or for your business or whatever, that don't want to invest because they don't know that you have the staying power. Everybody's got the starting power, but do you have the staying power? It's not until year 2 that they're watching. They said no. They're still watching though. And then year 3, they start coming to you, right? All of a sudden, things start getting easy, not because of the market, not because of something. Dude, the only thing that changed was you. You showed a commitment to something. You showed that you dedicated X number of years to become an expert at something. And people don't want to invest in amateurs. They want to invest with experts. Right. And so by you making that commitment, why the fuck would anybody else want to commit to you if you're not willing to commit to yourself? And so if you've been consistently jumping from job to job or business to business or get rich quick scheme to get rich quick scheme, dude, that loses a ton of credibility for you in the marketplace. That's
100%.
why, like, I never got into the e-commerce stores and the crypto really, or a lot of the other, get rich quick type of opportunity. Dude, I just stayed consistent in boring ass B-class apartments for the past 10 years. And that has created a following and a loyalty amongst my investors and social media following, because I don't jump ship, dude. I stay true to what works, and I'm becoming an expert and an authority in that space. And then it allows me to compound. And if I do release a course, it's an instant success because of the credibility I have in my traditional business, right? If I, come out with a new product or a book, you're right, it's an instant success because I'm seen as an authority in that space. And so, dude, making the commitment is more important than the industry that you're in.
Yeah, 100%. Like that's like, and it's funny because I say too often people like will try. And then whenever I said, "Oh, I'll try that," like it's almost like you set yourself up for failure, right? Like you're gonna find yourself an out if you're quote unquote trying. But if you
Bro,
fully commit, like what you said you did, like it was like there there was no plan B. And same with me. Like I didn't know how or why, like I didn't know why I felt this way. I didn't know how I was going to do it, but I was absolutely fucking certain I would be successful in wholesaling. And there was like,
Mhm.
I was either going to be successful or like literally die trying. And it's like,
Mhm.
if you have that mentality and apply it towards anything in life, and don't give up, like you're generally going to get whatever you want in life.
Yep, I agree, man. Dude, lukewarm never accomplished shit, man. White hot is what accomplishes things, right? You got to be white hot and obsessive over it. That's a whole book of Think and Grow Rich, right? It's just fixating on something that you know is going to work and sacrificing everything else in order to achieve that result and be white hot, be obsessive over it, and not let anything get in your way. Don't look left, don't look right, obsess over. And dude, it's like again, real estate's not a it's not a tech startup, right? It's not an unknown. It's not a I don't know,
Yeah, it's
AI,
not
right? It's
rocket
brand new,
science.
right? Like, guess
Yeah,
what? Real estate's time tested. You know this shit works. So you're in the right vehicle. You're in the right industry. You don't have to question that. All you got to do now is have the staying power and just get kicked in the balls for the next 5 years until you become an expert. You got kicked in the balls enough where now you have balls of steel, right? It doesn't matter how many times you get kicked in the balls, you can move forward.
yeah. And one thing, just knowing you a little bit personally, I felt like you had a huge mindset shift, kind of around the time we met or shortly before that. You were really doing a little bit of everything, wholesaling, flipping, property management. I think you were doing turnkey at the time. And then, you kind of like looked at, how you were making money and you're like, holy shit, like, I'm making majority of my money and spending very little time. And then from there, you got super focused, just on the apartment buildings. You thought really big, and that has, from the outside looks to have significantly changed, your business. So
Mm-hmm.
just talk about that, what you were kind of doing at that time, like what helped you with that mindset shift and what it has done for your life and your business.
Yeah, man. I think it's a good question because that was a pivotal moment in my life. And um, a couple things. First is like I know early on I was all excited about wanting to um, vertically integrate everything, right? I wanted the management company and I wanted the construction company. I wanted the brokerage. I wanted the investment side of things. I wanted everything all under one roof. And that makes a lot of sense because that's what a lot of the big companies do, but not when you're starting out because every single one of those, although in the same vein of real estate, they're very different businesses. And every business needs its own CEO and COO and SOPs and all these other different things. Um, where it's like, dude, you got your hands in all these different, like you don't have any one of those businesses humming, right? And so that's where I was. I had a turnkey business, and when I was wholesaling these turnkey houses, I'd sell the properties and to these investors, and then the management company would shit the bed, and they're like, dude, I can't keep on buying properties because there's not a good management company. So then all of a sudden, I had to do property management, and then it was like, well, hey, I'd buy more properties if they were more turnkey. I don't want to do the rehabs because the contractors keep screwing me. I'm in, Nevada or I'm in Phoenix or I'm out of state somewhere. I'm in overseas somewhere, Australia, Canada, Israel. There were people buying properties from us. And they're like the contractors keep on screwing us. So like if you'll do the renovations, I'll buy more properties. And so all of a sudden it turned into like this renovation arm, this property management arm, the wholesaling business and it was cool, but it was all transactional, right? It kept food on the table, but uh, I had joined a mastermind a couple years before, and that really helped me work on the business instead of in the business. You've heard people say that before, and be reflective, right? When you're in the weeds, when you're in the frame, you can't see the picture. You need to get out of the frame in order to then be able to see the whole picture. It's like a corn maze, right? When you're going through the corn maze, you don't know where you're going. But if you have a spotter, somebody who's like up on an elevated platform, being like, dude, go left. And all right, go another left. Now go right, go past that, keep on going straight. You can get through because somebody is outside of the frame looking in, and you need that. And I think that's the value of mentorship or joining a mastermind, which was the game changer. If there's one pivotal point in my life in business, and in personal life, because it made me a better dad, made me a better husband, made me a better son, right? Across the board, maybe a better friend, made me more aware in a lot of different relationships, maybe healthier than I was before, and all these different things, all these different pillars of my life. And most notably, though, in business, because it'll help me reflect, because I started asking myself better questions. I started asking myself, oh, instead of going from 5 houses a month, how do I get to 8 houses a month? You know what the answer is? Just do more of the shit that you're already doing, right? There's no difference other than, oh, just work harder, do more. But when you start asking yourself questions of like, how do I go from 5 houses a month to 50 houses a month? Maybe I don't even want to hit 50 houses, but if you ask that question, you get a different answer, right? It's like if you type in Italian restaurants into Google, it pops up every Italian restaurant in the country versus Italian restaurants in Philadelphia with 4 stars or better, with $2 signs or less, that have availability this Thursday night at 6 p.m. For a reservation of 4. You're going to get a much clearer answer. And when you start asking yourself better questions, you'll start getting better answers. And when I joined a mastermind, I started asking myself better questions. And one of those questions is the simple question of, where am I spending my time and where am I making my money? And I remember sitting back on a vacation summer of 2017, woke up before anybody else was up, grabbed a cup of coffee. I'm looking up my personal financial statement and looking at my net worth. And I asked myself that question. I was like, dude, where am I spending my time and where am I making the most, building the most wealth? And I quickly realized my part-time of just sponsoring some loans and doing a couple of multifamily properties generated 90% of my wealth.
Wow.
And it was only about 10% of my time. And it was like an epiphany, dude. I got back from that vacation on Monday and just made a simple pivot in my business, but a huge mental pivot in my life of going to my acquisitions guy and say, we are no longer doing single family houses. We are only instead of you underwriting houses, you're underwriting apartment buildings. Went to my project manager. Instead of renovating houses, you're only renovating apartment units. Went to my dispositions guy and said, instead of selling houses, you're going to be asset managing our own apartments. You know what that did? Dude, it eliminated buyers, right? I didn't have to go and worry about an entire part of my business, which was the disposition side. I didn't have to do anything. Now I added in operations, I added in asset management, but I knew that if I'm the buyer of those apartment buildings, I know I'm going to perform. I don't have to worry about somebody coming to closing with cash or not having the cash or sandbagging me at the last minute or trying to retrade me at the last minute or any of those things that you have to worry about when you're wholesaling or flipping or like things that, dude, it was such a pain in the ass for me. And I was able to just kind of eliminate all that, right? And I was able to then say, instead of building somebody else's wealth, I was able to build wealth for myself and my team. And that's the pivot that we made. So although it was a pretty nominal pivot business wise, it was huge from a mindset perspective because I was able to then focus on our own wealth. And that was a lot more exciting for us, right? It got everybody more involved and more committed. And I was able to give equity to many people on the staff and many people on the team in order to then get them some ownership and some buy-in into building up this portfolio. And so it got really exciting for everybody. And that was the pivot that we made in 2017, dude. And then you can see my portfolio go from this to like this. And a lot of that came from, again, being part of a mastermind that helped me ask better questions that led me to better answers.
And from when you started in real estate to 2017, like how many like doors did you own at that point? And then from 2017 up until now, like what were you able to accumulate?
Yeah, so I and that's gives a good visual, right? Because in 2009 I bought my first property. In 2010, 11, I had 10 houses, including my own primary residence that I was house hacking and renting out to my buddies, the other rooms, and I lived there and stuff. And then I had 9 rentals. And I wasn't rich, but I was technically financially free, dude. My residual income paid for all operating expenses, all debt service, and all my personal expenses. And it left me with like an extra $500 a month, right? I wasn't rich, but I was financially free by the definition. And I thought I had it figured out, chased a bunch of shiny objects for a couple of years, sold off my portfolio, went completely broke in 2012, and went back to real estate in 2013 and started growing a portfolio again. And a couple people that I met early on saw that I was doing real estate and I was finding some good deals, and they started investing in deals with me. And so they put up a couple of guys put up about $1 million over from 2013, 2014, 2015. It was $1 million about is what they invested. And I got, dude, back in those days, you remember what you could buy, especially in the Rust Belt. I bought 140 doors for just over $1 million. And
Wow.
I flipped some stuff, and I did 1031 exchanges. And I kept on trading up, and we reinvested all the cash flow back in, and we did like a lot of that stuff. But dude, it was C class at best areas, um, cheap properties in urban areas of Cleveland, Ohio, and so you could buy a lot of doors for that much money back then. And it was, dude, it was constantly taking arrows from tenants, from the city, from contractors. I was dealing with like, some just horrible contractors, tenants who didn't give a shit because I didn't screen them. Right, so it was my fault. It wasn't their fault. I didn't screen them. It was the first person to raise their hand, all that stuff. But anyways, I built up a portfolio of about 140 doors by 2015. And then that partnership with those couple of guys ended up going south, right? My value kept on increasing. They wanted to bring less money, not more money. They wanted more equity, not less equity. And my value was more. And we just didn't see eye to eye, and it wasn't set up properly from the start. So the only solution was to liquidate. And so we liquidated the portfolio, but it really allowed me to then spread my wings and start doing deals with other people because I had an exclusive relationship with those guys. So 2015, 2016, I started sponsoring some loans for other people and got a couple, I don't know, probably by 2017, I probably had about 400 doors again. So, we were talking offline before you started recording, is like some setbacks are actually setups for something way better.
Yeah.
And that's what that was, right? And I had gone broke in 2012 and pressed the reset button. And then in 2015, I had to press the reset button again. I thought it was like the worst thing ever. I was, are you shitting me, dude? I've been working my ass off for the past 3 years. I got a kid now. I got a mortgage now, and all these other responsibilities. I got to press reset again. And guess what, dude? I essentially 2.5x'd my portfolio in the next 24 months. Working smarter, not harder, and with a better team. And I was still doing the turnkey stuff because I needed to put food back on the table. And then in 2017, that's when I realized, dude, let me just go all in on apartments. So let's say I had about 400 units by the end of 2017. In 2018, I had 1,400 units.
Wow.
Picked up 1,000 doors, like 950 doors, something like that in 2018. In 2019, I picked up another 2,000 doors. I was at 3,300 doors by the end of 2019. In 2020, throughout COVID, I bought another 1,500 doors. Right. So now I'm at, I would say early 2021, bought another so I was at 4,800 doors in 2021, and grew really fast. And a lot of those properties are amazing. And some of them I realized I don't want to be with these partners long term. I don't want to be with these properties long term. Some of those properties or some of those partners became way too management intensive. And I think you go through these stages of growth and refinement, and so over the past couple of years, I haven't done much acquisitions. I've really been recapitalizing existing properties, buying out existing partners, moving existing chess pieces around the board and not really accumulating anymore, and just better positioning my current portfolio. So we've actually sold off a pretty sizable chunk, about 2,000 doors. So I'm hovering around, I don't know, 33,000 doors, let's say right now. And just focused on those, right? And I'd rather have better assets rather than just more, right?
Yeah.
And I'm trying to figure out ways, like you can grow a portfolio by adding more doors, or you can grow a portfolio by increasing the income of your existing portfolio, right? You can increase the value of your existing portfolio by increasing income and decreasing expenses. And now you don't have to go through the process of new acquisitions, raising more money, signing on another loan, taking on additional responsibilities, learning a new marketplace. Like you can just focus on adding solar, or increasing the value of the units, updating the units in order to be able to charge more rent, or adding different amenities, or adding low flow toilets and low flow fixtures in order to reduce the water bill by 30 or 40%, or putting in LED lights in order to reduce the light bill by 20%, or different things like that, where you can increase the value of your existing portfolio rather than just trying to grow door count. I've realized the value of quality over quantity over the past couple of years, and that's really what I'm focused on right now. We'll get back into the growth mode eventually, but I've been in refinement, taking a couple steps back in order to make some bigger leaps forward moving forward.
Good segue. Like, what is the plan for like the next 5 to 10 years in terms of acquisitions? Like, are you going to still focus on apartments, different asset classes?
Yeah, I think I think apartments will always be our core. I like triple net lease too. I think it's just easy to manage, like flex space, like warehouses with an office in front, or a triple net lease on a retail complex, or a handful of like a retail strip. You got to be very careful on the types of businesses. You got to be very careful in the area. You got to be there's a lot of nuances in that space, but it's very scalable, right? Like I could have a $10 million apartment complex with 100 units with 100 tenants that I have to manage, or I can have a 5-unit retail complex with 5 business owners that I'm working with instead of emotional individuals. I'm dealing with business owners that talk in dollars and decimals, and they're responsible for the upkeep and the maintenance and the taxes and the insurance and the property and all those other things. And I can very easily manage that myself, or with one team member, as opposed to having to hire 3 or 4 people in an apartment complex. So there's benefits of both. I'll always do both, because guess what? Retail can go vacant for a very long time, versus an apartment goes vacant, you can fill it back up in 30 days. So I think there's and the federal government always has to lend on apartments. There's federal mandates for that, for Fannie and Freddie and different lending institutions. They always have to lend on housing. They don't always have to lend on retail. You see that with office right now. You see that with hospitality industry right now, dude. It's very hard to get those loans because of those industries. And so I think I'll always be weighted heavily in apartments. Probably 50% of my portfolio or more will be in apartments. Another 50% in I like the triple net space. And so not saying there's anything bad against any of the other asset classes. It's just kind of what works for me and my team and the markets that we're in. So I think we'll focus on that, and just focusing on newer properties, right? Things that have been built in the past 30 years or newer, A and B class areas. I'm not doing C class stuff anymore. But I got started in C, right? It was a great stepping stone to get into the B class, right? B's great to get stepping stone into the A class stuff. I just have different goals and objections and access to resources now, where I don't have to buy C class stuff. So I think, again, it's always asking questions of like, what's working, what's not working, what are my access to resources, what are not, where am I making my money, where am I not making my money, where do I have, where is water flowing downhill as opposed to trying to swim upstream.
Looking for good opportunities more so than anything else.
Yeah, man. Yeah, and it's being aware of those things and reflecting on those things on a regular basis, right? It's towards the end of the year right now, where a lot of people get reflective at the end of the year. Shit, why aren't you doing that every month? Why aren't you doing that every Friday morning for an hour and a half, dissecting your business and just asking? And dude, making these little pivots is a lot easier than making this monumental turn the ship around at the end of the year every year. So, dude, make the little course corrections. That's a lot less painful doing it as you go than it is making these huge turns once a year. So ask yourself those questions more often, dude. And that's what joining a mastermind again. I'm just a big proponent of it, because it forces you to think about your business on a quarterly basis. You got to get in. You got to ask yourself questions. You got to make sure that you're reflecting on the business instead of just taking the hits in the business.
I kind of agree. I know you're on a time crunch, so we'll get to the final 4 questions right now. What book, movie, or experience fundamentally changed your perspective on life, and why?
That's a great question, man. I think a book called The 12 Pillars by Jim Rohn. It's not really talked about too much. I found it when I was on my Jim Rohn kick, I don't know, a decade ago. And dude, it's probably the most impactful book I've ever read. It's not just about, it's actually more about building a good life as opposed to business. It's easy, dude. It's like 100 pages. You'll knock it out in 2 sittings. It reads so quickly. It's very story like, but dude, it's like every page is just highlighted, man. There's so many good nuggets in there about life, about relationships, about um, priorities, about focus, about finance, about personal health, about all these different things that, dude, Jim Rohn was the foremost philosopher probably of our age. That's where Tony Robbins gets all his stuff from. It's where all the current personal development speakers got a lot of their insights from. And Jim Rohn, man, was like he was one of the foremost thought leaders of all time, of the past century, and he was very reflective and philosophical in a lot of the things that he did. Very simple in the way that he thought, and that to me made a big impact because I'm a blue collar kid from Cleveland, man, and so I think at a third grade level, and he taught at a third grade level, and made it easy for a guy like me to understand those things and then implement those things, right? Like, don't show me how smart you are by using big words and talking about big degrees. And all. Dude, take complex ideas and make them third grade simple so everybody can understand. That is real genius, and that's what Jim Rohn was able to do. And it makes it easy to understand what's important and what's not, and what you should be prioritizing and what you shouldn't be, and how to do a lot of those things too. So that's a fantastic book, man. If anybody doesn't have it or hasn't seen it, get it and reread it on a regular basis. I try to reread it once a year just because, life impacts you differently every single year, and you absorb the information a little bit differently.
Yeah, I'm almost positive I read that like many years ago, but I'll have to reread it. It's good ones. It's important to reread.
For
He
sure.
has like literally like one of my fucking favorite quotes. So it's we will all deal with two pains in life. The pain of regret and the pain of discipline. Regret or discipline is weighed in ounces and regret is weighed in tons. So it's like
Yep.
one of my favorite quotes.
Yep. Yep.
Question number 2: how do you define success?
Oh man. I mean, depends on the stage in life you're in, right? Like before I had kids and a family and I was just money driven, I was like, I'll be successful at that $1 billion net worth mark. And I'm still ambitious, but I'm not. I understand the trade-offs now that I'm in business. I understand the trade-offs of time and effort and quality of life or lack of quality of life in a lot of different ways. Um, and I think I found a pretty good sweet spot of building 7 and 8 figure businesses. And there's a couple things that I think are moonshots. I'm working on some softwares that I think could hit the $1 billion mark. Um, but dude, when I started making, it's hard to say based on which, where you live and what your cost of living is and all that kind of stuff. But dude, it's hard to outpace once you make like a $500,000 a year, probably 40, 50 grand a month in most markets. Dude, when I started making a couple $1 million a year, my lifestyle didn't change whatsoever, right? Once I was making about 50 grand a month, dude, I had whatever car I wanted. I lived wherever I wanted. I took whatever vacations I wanted, flew first class. I knew how to take a liability and turn it into an asset. So I had like a ridiculous mountain house that I didn't even have to pay for, right? I figured out how to syndicate it like I do my apartments and turn it into an asset and Airbnb it, and it pays for itself. I own an island, right? And 110-acre island. And turn that into an asset. And like, dude, you can buy credits on. You don't have to own a private jet. You can buy credits on a jet, uh, um, whatever those freaking companies are, for a
Yeah, I
couple hundred
know.
grand, and use it, and use a private jet whenever you want. Like 500-600 grand a year gets you pretty much anything, dude. And your lifestyle doesn't change much once you get over that mark. And so when I realized that, I was like, well, what's another $10 million a year going to do for me? It's not going to change my life. Yeah, I can run up the scoreboard, but it's like, fuck, I already won the game. Like, why do I need to run up the score? I'd rather have lifestyle. I'd rather convey value to other people and make an impact and help other people get to $500,000 a year, $1 million a year, and then be able to pay that forward, be a ripple effect there. So success to me used to be right, like achieving success personally, and then it was helping 1,000 other people become millionaires. And now it's not really about becoming millionaires. It's about helping 1,000 other people become leaders. And if I can help 1,000 other people become leaders and they each help another 1,000 people become millionaires. Dude, instead of me creating $1 billion of value by helping 1,000 people become millionaires, I create $1 trillion of value by helping 1,000 people become leaders that each help another 1,000 people become millionaires. And so more the leadership development is a driving force for me right now. And I'd say that's like the fire that burns within. And happiness or success, I would say, is defined in happiness and peace of mind, in that how do you find this level of both ambition and content, right? How do you still push forward and still be happy and appreciative and thankful for what you've got? Because most ambitious people are not that content, and most contented people are not that ambitious. But if you can reach a place in life where you're both ambitious and content, dude, that's a powerful place to be, where you can still push, move things forward, show people what things can be and what life can look like, and at the same time be thankful for what you've got, man. And I think that's a practice of gratitude, right? Which is the epitome or the cornerstone of leading to happiness.
No, 100%. Great answer. Great answer. If you could have a conversation with any historical figure, who would it be and what would you ask them?
Oh man. I mean, dude, I think it's got to be like Jesus, right? Or somebody. I think it's got to be someone like that. If it was Marcus Aurelius pops up. He wrote the book Meditations, or it was never supposed to be a book, but he wrote Meditations of Marcus Aurelius, and he was like the most badass emperor of Roman times. He would pop up. Jesus would definitely pop up. I'm not really that religious. I'm more of a spiritual type of person, but I mean, shit, dude, Jesus impacted many, many billions of people. And so I think that would be a very insightful. I would say Jesus.
So what's Jesus like? So what would, if you could, what would you ask him?
Oh man. I think if I asked him if he's the son of God, he would say yes, right? And so I don't, what's important? What is success, right? Like what is
Yeah. That would be a hell of an answer from Jesus. What is success to you?
What is success, right? Like what why are we here, right? I think some of those types of questions would lead to that. I'm not really a religious person in that. I remember being on spring break one time, and I'm sitting on the beach hanging out. All my buddies are drunk. I just needed to like mellow out, right? And I'm hanging out, and there were some kids coming over and try to like evangelize people, I guess, on spring break in Panama City, which is, I can't imagine a tougher feat, right? than having to go and sell that. And he's like, wow, do you know what it takes to get into heaven? I was like, I don't know, being a good person. And he's like, well, you got to be a good person and follow Jesus. And dude, like, I'm all about finding whatever path leads to you. But like, I don't know, what if somebody was born in another country that never even knew Jesus existed, and they were an amazing saint and treated everybody amazingly, but they weren't even
aware.
Aware. Like, they didn't even know that this exists, and then they lived their entire life that way, and then they died. Like, is that person gonna go burn in hell or purgatory because of something that wasn't their fault, right? Like, I don't know. That's hard for me to wrap my head around. And so, dude, I think to be a good person, right? Help others out. Leave this earth better than how you came into it. Make it a better place for you having been here, and help people, right, with their life. I think is a really powerful thing. But I will say, like, I don't know if there's a better religion out there or a better framework to follow, right, than probably following Christianity or whatever. Like, I like the idea of exposing my kids to Buddhism and Hinduism and Judaism, and dude, they can read Islamic books, they can read like whatever, like look at it all and then decipher it and figure out what you like, what you don't like. And I don't know, man. I think that's just, I don't know how we got on this topic of religion. I apologize, but
all good.
Yeah, but I would say, dude, I think Jesus is probably the most impactful person in history, and I would probably sit down with Jesus and ask him, why are we here? What's the point of all of this? And I think that's probably what Christianity and the Bible talks about the most.
Good answer. And number 4, last but not least, what was a time that you had self-limiting beliefs, and what did you do to overcome them?
Oh man, that's a good question. I've been pondering a similar question of like, how do you get through the shitty days, right? And I was asking myself that actually yesterday on a walk that I was on when I was out taking my dog out on a walk, and I was like, that's a really good question to ask people in a podcast, especially when people are hearing the negativity on external factors and the news and all that stuff right now. Because, dude, where there's obstacles, there's also opportunity, massive opportunity, and it's a yin and yang kind of a thing where both of them happen all the time. Um, Dude, first of all, I get out of my own mindset of if I'm having a shitty day or if I'm in a funk of some sort, I think get out in nature, go for a walk in the woods, go for a walk in a park, go for a walk on the beach, go for like just get out of whatever this desk space is of emails and text messages and phone calls and all the noise, right? And get out of the weeds and go and take a walk. I've had my biggest breakthroughs on just taking a walk by myself in nature. And so I would make it a regular exercise to go out and do that. It reduces stress levels. It increases endorphin releases, chemically in your body, and makes you think about a situation and decompress instead of just being emotional in the situation. So I would do that. And by the way, dude, these funks happen all the time, right? Like
Everybody.
self-limiting beliefs happen every single day, multiple times a day. How do you get through it? It's a muscle. It's a mental muscle that you have to exercise. I'm very conscious about what I consume. I'm very active on social media. I create a lot of content. I'm very, very conscious. I'm a guard at the door of my mind of what comes into my mind. Dude, I will not watch garbage TV shows. I will not listen to garbage music. I will not listen to garbage opinions and political type stuff on the right side or the left side of the spectrum. I will not, dude, if there's somebody who's noisy like that on my newsfeed, I either mute them or I'll unfriend them. I will not, dude, anybody who's so polarizing where they make up a decision, like we just had the election this week, right? Or elections this week on councilmen and all that kind of stuff. Anybody who makes up their decision on something before they hear both sides of the story is a complete fucking idiot in my mind, right? I tend to lean right when it comes to fiscal things. I tend to lean left when it comes to social things. And I'm not polarized either way on either, right? I like to think I'm pretty down the center, but more importantly, I like to be reflective on all this kind of stuff. And
you gotta form your own decisions. Like too often people are just kind of like, they hear something and they like run with it without doing any research whatsoever. Like it could sound crazy as shit, but it supports a belief that you already believe to a certain extent, and then you just run with it.
There's a statistic that fake news travels 6 to 7 times faster than true news.
Well,
and nobody fact
news, right?
checks it.
Just
Right?
think about like bad news stuff, like that the fake news, like bad stuff. Like, if you have a good experience, like very few people go, if you have a good experience at a restaurant, very few people are going to go tell their friends and family. If a bad experience, a lot of people are going to go tell their friends and family.
Exactly. And so, yeah, man, I agree 100%. And I think, how do you get out of these funks, dude? I remember standing at the gas pump, pumping my gas, and I don't know, like some of the gas pumps have like these little TVs that pop up, and they have like some ads, and this one woman, Maria Menounos, has like a 30-second clip, and I actually kind of like them, dude. It's always like, oh, how do you get out of a bad mood, or how do you change your luck, or how do you do this? And one of them was, how do you change your luck? There was a study that came out of how do you change your luck. I was on a phone call yesterday with Mark Evans and the DM fam guys, and one of the guys is like, dude, I can't believe where I was 3 years ago versus where I am today in a downward trajectory. And he's like, I can't get myself out of this. I was like, bro, you know how you change your luck? They did this study, dude. They interviewed thousands of people, and they did this looked at all these factors and all these different people's lives, and they disseminated it and funneled it down to one thing that changes people's luck. You know what that is?
I would say a mindset shift.
It's even past that, right? You would think it's like mindset shift or the decisions that you make, the choices that you make. That gets impacted though by who you hang out with.
Mm.
Who you hang out with impacts your choices, right? If you hang out with 5 people who are eating a salad every single day at lunch, chances are you're going to eat a salad. And that's going to be your choice because it got impacted by the people you're hanging out with. If you hang out with 5 people who eat French fries every day, chances are you're going to either order French fries or at least take a French fry off of somebody else's plate and eat a French fry, and your choices get impacted by who you're hanging out with and the influence that those people have on you. So if you can find yourself and put yourself in a situation where you're only having positivity come into your life, whether that's by the books that you're reading, the people that you're following on social media, the podcasts you're listening to, the TV shows that you're watching or not watching, right? You can say yes or no to a lot of the things and things that you're eliminating, not just the things that you're adding. And the people that you're having regular conversations with, what do those conversations look like? And if they're positive, fulfilling, feeding, growth-oriented, progressive type of conversations, those are the groups that you want to be in, right? Good fundamental morals and core values. Finding those people and surrounding yourself with people that fit into that group. Like, dude, I go to these real estate events. There's a group of guys that go out to the strip club and fuck around other wives, right? And there's a group of guys who are like, dude, make a better decision.
I'm getting up
right?
early and going to the gym.
Let's go to the gym. Yeah, let's fucking go to the gym. Guys who drink too much, guys who, hey, let me have a couple of them, have fun. Let me go to bed, get a good night's sleep, get up, get a workout in, right? And who you hanging out with, right? Who are you letting influence your decisions? And when you're in the right group with the right people and you're very intentional about that, you end up making better decisions and everything else, dude, falls into place. So that's how I would get out of a funk. That's how I would get out of my mental mindset. I'd take a walk in the woods. I'd call one of those people in that group and let them, give me an outside perspective on something that I'm in the weeds on and let them give me this unbiased opinion on what I should do. Because we all kind of know. We just need to hear it from an outside source sometimes.
Definitely. Well, I know we're past the 10 o'clock cutoff time that you needed.
All good, brother.
But no, Tim, I sincerely appreciate the time and hopping on. I know you're a busy man. You shared a ton of valuable information with the audience. Just share with everyone, where they can reach you, what you would be able to help them with.
Yeah, hey, listen, I'm a lot in the mode of give away as much as I can for free on social media and a lot of the webinars and all that kind of stuff that I do. Like, we don't try to promote or sell any. I have a mastermind, because they've made such an impact on me that I know that how much of an impact it makes on other people. And dude, that's the only thing that I have, right? I don't have I don't even sell Commercial Empire anymore. Like, dude, we just give it all away for free. It's all free content. So, just follow me on social media, right? And stay in the network, stay in the community. And hopefully I'm enough of a positive impact and a positive influence on other people's lives where, they follow my stuff as opposed to some celebrity who's not giving any value. And hopefully I can make a good impact on your life, not just financially, but relationally and physically, and trying to just help entrepreneurs kind of get through the hell zone in order to be able to then make some money and make a bigger impact and pay things forward. And I've been really blessed in my life. And I think, when you have those abilities, you have the responsibility to pay it forward too. And so pay those blessings forward. But I appreciate you, brother. You asked a ton of great questions, and always easy to have a conversation with you, man. So I really, really appreciate you and appreciate the impact that you're making and the leadership that you're showing.
Cool. No, I appreciate that, Tim. And thanks again. And that wraps it up for episode number 9. Please like, share, comment, and would appreciate any feedback and, post any questions you guys have. All right. Thanks, Tim. I greatly appreciate it. And I'll let you hop off now. I'm going to hit you up, though, just about like what you're trying to buy, though, in the next, couple years or whatever. So we can.
Yeah, man. I'm in like a holding pattern right now over the next 6 months, but next summer we'll be back in buying mode. And really it's A and B class areas in the southeastern part of the United States. That's at least $5 million or more. It's built in the past, let's call it year 2000 or newer.
Okay.
And that's apartment buildings and triple net lease. I'll look at some warehouse type stuff as well. But yeah, man, just and dude, I'm pretty price agnostic. I like the $5 million to $20 million price marks. That's kind of my sweet spot. It's bigger than the small guys, smaller than the big guys, and it's just easy for me to take down those deals and grow the portfolio. And so I can buy a lot of those in similar areas of really the Carolinas, coastal Georgia is mostly where I'm looking. But shoot me a message anytime, man. I can write that all down and share it with you guys. If you guys come across some stuff, happy to kick you a fee or kick you equity in the deal for bringing those deals, or a combination like a hybrid of both even.
All right, cool. No, I'll definitely be in touch, and we're definitely going to get something closed in the next year or two.
Awesome, brother. Appreciate you, man. Let me know when this goes live. Tag me on all the social. I'll share it on everything so that way we can cross pollinate, and hopefully I can send some followers your way too.
Cool. I appreciate you. Have a good one.
Later, brother.